Hi everyone, hello, how you all doing? So we are in the fourth part of the story camp project with Time to Change, and the topic is the other side to mental health. I'm going to be looking at how my physical health, so autoimmune liver disease, can overlap with my mental health and just my experiences with that. So having been diagnosed with autoimmune at the age of 13, there wasn't like, I saw a few psychologists when I got diagnosed, like one or two, but it was never a long-term kind of thing. It was always like, I remember one I actually just saw for one day, and it was really uncomfortable for me, that session, because my mom was there. My mom was in the room with my newborn sister, and it was just like, I just didn't feel comfortable really, because it just wasn't private. There was no privacy. Like she was asking me questions, like how I'm doing, how I'm coping, and I was just like, yeah, it is what it is. But I really just did. And then the problem was, at the time I was really struggling, because I was having to deal with the fact that my life has now changed. Like I am now on long-term medication, and I basically got told when I was diagnosed, like, it's for the rest of my life, I'll be on those medication. So trying to get my head around that was a big, a big issue for me. And going to see a psychologist, but not having the opportunity to even talk to her myself, because I'm not one, there's like, I don't have an issue with my mum or either one of my parents. It's just that I'm not comfortable disclosing things with other people in the room. Like, it's just, I don't like it. It's one of the reasons why I don't like group therapy either. I prefer one-to-one. I don't like being in an open space with other people. So I was really uncomfortable then, and I just went like, yeah, everything is fine, it is what it is. And then she discharged me straight away. Like, as soon as I said, yeah, everything's fine, blah blah blah, and she was like, okay, fine, we don't need to see you again. Done. Never saw her again. So I only saw her once. And then I did then start seeing somebody else in the children's department. I don't know if she worked for the children's department, she just happened to be there. Her office was there in the local hospital I was going to. So that wasn't King's, it wasn't the hospital I get treated at. And so I saw somebody there. That person, I saw her for like two sessions or something, and then she was it 2 or 1, I can't even remember. That's how little it was. I just remember I saw her, she talked some stuff about bubbles and anger, and I was just like, oh my days. And then she was like, oh, I'm going to be leaving soon, so it's really up to you whether or not we carry on with the sessions till I leave or we don't. So I just said, there's no point in me coming if you're leaving, because I really don't want to repeat everything again to somebody new. So we ended those sessions. I think I must have just had like 2 or something with her, and those sessions ended, so never saw her again. And then there was a replacement, but I just didn't feel in it. There was no we just didn't match, we didn't click. I went a couple of times, like I went for a while, but each time I went, I was just kind of like, I did tell her 1 or 2 things, but I never really properly opened up, because I just, once again, was uncomfortable. So, and then with her as well, like, there wasn't really much discussion about liver disease and how I felt being diagnosed, how I was coping with my body changing, all the medications, all the weight changes, physical appearance and those things. Like, there was no discussion about that. There was no discussions about, because when I got diagnosed, I had to spend a lot of time at home first before I was allowed to go back to school, because my immune system was basically compromised. And there was no discussions about how I dealt with that, being at home isolated by myself, not being able to see my friends, how I felt to suddenly go back to school again. Like, there was no discussions on that. So that for me was just, because a lot was going on at the time regarding going back to school and how I felt regarding my friendships, and there was just nothing about that at all. So I just really didn't like it either. And I never felt comfortable enough to say, oh, I want to talk about this today, because the sessions were always led by the psychologist. There was never really like a space for me to say, actually I want to discuss this today. So that was an issue for me. And then yeah, and then I just stopped seeing her as well. I'm not quite sure who made the decision, so I stopped seeing her as well. And then I finally started seeing somebody at the hospital at King's where I was being seen. With the psychologist, there was 3 of them, and I really did build good relations with them, and they helped me a lot with like trying to find coping methods, doing thought diaries and things like that. So you know, those were my early exposures to CBT, and I actually didn't mind it with them, apart from the homework. I absolutely hate doing CBT homework. Till now I don't like doing it. So yeah, that was okay during those years. And then it became an issue because when I was leaving transition, I can't see the psychologist there anymore. I have to see somebody locally, and my experiences with like CAMHS and things like that were horrible, absolutely horrible. I did not like one part of it at all. Like I hated it. I absolutely hated it. One psychologist I had, she was meant to come to my house to do a home assessment, and she was beyond late, like beyond, and that really annoyed me that time because my social worker from King's actually came to the house as well to sit with her. And then by the time she did arrive, the social worker had already left, so it was just me and her alone. And she did like a less than 5-minute assessment and came out with the most ridiculous nonsense I've ever heard in my whole entire life about me. It was all lies. Like it was horrible, and it really put me off wanting to be seen locally ever again, because it was like, she described me with having personality disorder, and I just thought, how can you come to that conclusion within an assessment that you've done less than 5 minutes? So that was a really horrible experience for me, frankly. And then I had another one that I had to see when I lived in a hostel. It was part of my agreement that I had to see her, so I used to go and see her, and I really didn't like it. We were both African, and every time I said anything, she would just be like, that's our culture, that's how things are. And I'm like, well no babes, our culture is basically pushing me to the brink of a breakdown. Like, our culture is driving me mad. Like, that's not what you're supposed to say. And she just kept, every time, like I would say, you know, this and that's happening, I'm feeling this way, my emotions are doing this, I'm feeling, you know, rejected, unwanted, and she'd just say, that's just our culture, that's just how things are, that's how we Africans are. And I was just there like, babe, nah, that is not it, because our culture is going to push me to the end and I'm just going to lose it. So I did a couple of sessions with her as well, and then in the end I just like, I was just sick of this. I didn't want to go anymore, so I just started missing out a few sessions, and then she discharged me. So yeah, and then I had a whole period where I wasn't seeing anybody, and the hospital, King's, were trying to get me was still trying to get me seen locally, which is where I had the issue with, because it was like they basically were like, our job is to take care of your liver, you need to take care of your mind, you have to go somewhere else. There was no in between, and it was just like, you can't just do that to me. Please don't do that to me. As much as like they tried really hard to get me to be seen, but because I wasn't in transition anymore, I mean now in adults, I can't see the psychologist there. So I was basically just like, I had like really horrible experiences with the so I had an experience where I was being seen by a psychotherapist at the Tavistock, and I was doing, for the first time it wasn't CBT, I was doing psychodynamic therapy, which I just did not bloody well get. Sorry from my language. It was just, I don't know if it was because of the therapist I had, but I just didn't like it. Horrible experiences with her as well. I would knock on the door and she wouldn't say hello, she wouldn't say come in, she would just stand there in total silence till I opened the door myself, and then I finally just standing there in the room, and I'm like, why do you just say hello and tell me to come in? Anyways, so I was, when I was seeing her, like I was experiencing a lot of rejection and things with my liver was playing up. So this is where it comes in. My liver is playing up, so I'm missing a few sessions, and then she decides that because I'm in hospital a lot to do with my liver, that the best option would be to discharge me completely and refer me back to my GP. Why? Like, it's not even, oh, we'll keep you on our waiting list here, so maybe you could just come back, you won't need another referral. It's complete discharge, like completely gone. I have to start back from zero. Like, I have to go and get another referral from the GP again. I have to be on the waiting list all over again, and I have to wait God knows how many more months and years to get seen again. And that frustrated me, because it was like, why are you not trying to see that my physical health is also having an impact on my mental health? Because then at that time I was actually experiencing like really low moods. Like I was literally just going through it, and rather than trying to help me, it was, we're just going to completely drop you off, like bye bye, see you, you're on your own, babe. And that really irritated me, because that then made my liver worse, because then what happened was I deteriorated more with regarding my physical health, but I was also then experiencing mental health issues, because I was once again left like no health professional wanted to help me yet again. I was back to ground zero with my GP. And then at the hospital, they were once again trying to get me seen by and locally again. So I was once again, psychologist at King's, then a referral to local services, and I think I was waiting nearly 2 years before I even heard from anyone. Then I had to do an assessment, and it was just kind of forgotten about. And I was just there lingering, waiting, as I had episodes of up and down with my mental health, and then my liver was also going up and down. And I don't understand why something's happened and the first initial response is, if you don't turn up to the next one, we're going to discharge you. It's never okay. Like, why are they so quick to discharge? Why are you so quick to discharge? Like, why are you not trying to help? Why are you not trying to just wait it out for a bit? Like, you're so quick to discharge and takes so long to even bring people back in service, and the requirements for you to come back into service are ridiculous. Like, you have to be at your worst to get help first. It can't be that you're kind of floating about. No, you have to be right at bottom. You have to hit rock bottom for them to help you, which I think is absolutely ridiculous. Like, it shouldn't be when I've completely at my wit's end, then now you're suddenly like, okay, maybe you do need a bit of help. Like, that's so wrong, and it's so annoying. Like, yeah. There's loads of people with chronic illnesses, chronic health conditions, who are also suffering from mental health issues, and the problem is that the health professionals in dealing in your physical health will not touch your mental health, and then mental health professionals will not touch your physical health. They won't even take that into consideration. Like, they just want to keep it like this, when really it needs to be like this. It needs to be intertwined. It needs to be intertwined. Like, they need to come together. Providing treatment needs to become an holistic approach needs to be applied to health. Like, you can't just treat one and leave the other. They're both. It's not, the worst thing is the two departments don't even talk to each other. You will not catch my mental health team talking to my other team. The only time they ever do that is like randomly, if they need, and they'll do it for my GP, and then things get messy. It's never trying to understand, you know, this and that can impact this and that. I feel like they do know it. The thing is that they've got to a stage where they are aware that these things overlap and they come together and they can affect you. but there's still no way of them wanting to work together. Like like services are so quick with the discharge, like they are fast with it, like 1, 2, you're out. Yeah, and it's like, it shouldn't be that way. I feel like I've just used this video, this project, this part just to vent. So it frustrates me. It really frustrates me that there's just no way of them taking things into consideration. Having a long-term illness like liver disease, like diabetes, that doesn't just affect your body, your mind as well. Like, it really does get to you, because you've lived your life a certain way, and then all of a sudden you're being told you have to change your whole lifestyle, you have to change everything that you're used to, the food you eat and things like that. And then it changes your body. So for me, I went from being really skinny to now being really overweight, and trying to deal with that. How does that affect somebody? Moon face, these cheeks, you know, other people think they're cute and lovely. Me, I hate them. Yeah, like how your physical appearance changing, like, why is that not looked at? Because I guarantee you, when you go and see your doctor, they're like, oh yeah, you know, they'll say things like, yeah, the physical changes are part of the condition because of your steroids, because of the immunosuppressions you're taking. It's just part of it. There's no, oh, we understand that, you know, this can cause a lot of mental health problems for you. It can make you really depressed and upset and things like that. Here's how we can help you deal with that. No, there's nothing like that. You're just thrown in the deep end and you're left to it. Oh my god. So God, that for me is the other side to mental health, is that I feel like physical health is not taken into consideration on the mental health aspect when you're seeing health professionals on the mental health side, and your mental health is not taken into consideration when your physical health doctors are involved. So physical health neglects mental health, and mental health neglects physical health, and I think that needs to change. I know changes are being made slowly, but it's too slow, too slow. We need to be quick about it. We need to really work hard at it. Yeah, so that's my experience with that. That's the other side of mental health for me. Please like and subscribe and watch my other videos with the Time to Change charity.